All right, so we've been going forever now. We watched a couple of video clips, but let's go ahead and check out this speech by Douglas Murray, who, for all you negative Nellies, all you negative Nellies and negative Nancys out there, moaning and wailing with AP, we're all doomed. Europe is doomed. There's no hope for the future. You've got some people at the art conference who seem a bit more hopeful, and among them is one of the great British people of our time, Douglas Murray.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you and good morning. So good to see all of you here, and thank you to the organizers of ARC for inviting me. Perhaps I could just start by saying that I think that the challenge that Philippa and the organizers of this conference have laid out is much bigger even than we speakers have been told. It's a sort of challenge upon a challenge to be invited to be optimistic about the future. One of the questions, I think, that all ages ask themselves is, what do they call the age that they are in? Almost every age has had this question.
Ooh.
Most recently, the age of modernism asked what comes after modernism, and the rather unoriginal idea was postmodernism.
That was dumb.
Postmodernism, of course, included its offspring of deconstructionism, and nothing came from that. But I would...
He's right. Postmodernism, then deconstructionism, and then he's going to have his name for the new age.
Included its offspring of deconstructionism, and nothing came from that. But I would like to suggest a name for the age that we should be in, and the age that this conference can help bring in, the age of reconstruction. We should be the reconstructionists. The deconstructionists knew something about how to take...
What? What are you complaining about?
That already exists.
What? The age of reconstruction?
Well, Reconstructionism. Isn't that already a thing? A movement? The East London is very, very heavily Muslim populated, and has like high percentage Muslim.
So it must be the most peaceful, wonderful place on earth.
2021, 32% of East London identified as Christians, 30% as Muslim. Jeez.
Good work, guys.
The deconstructionists knew something about how to take things apart, but like children with bicycles, had no idea how to put them back together. So it'll be the job of people like those in this room to try to put that civilization back together, and I'm delighted that that's one of the things that we're gathered here to do.
What the heck is wrong with you? You're sitting here, no, look at this. Look at this. Keep talking about negative Nellies here, and you got AP shaking his head. You've got Douglas Murray saying, okay, we just had a generation that specialized in ripping things apart, tearing things down, deconstructing everything. They're like kids with bicycles. Oh, I can figure out how to take this apart. And then they don't know how to put it back together. Okay, we're going to have to be the generation that figures out how to put these things back together. We're at a conference with some of the most brilliant thinkers in the world, all gathered around. How are we going to put things back together? And you got AP here. No, you'll never do it. Just shut up. Just be hopeless and miserable, and just let your ship sink to the bottom and play the violin. Play the violin as it's sinking, but under no circumstances should you try to stop it from sinking. This what negativity, man. That Turkish negativity.
I mean, just look at a graph of it, man. I'm just looking at a graph of it right now. It's like, when and why did you let this happen? Why would you let something like...
Because people are stupid.
How dumb do you have to be to let this happen?
It's pretty dumb. There's no disagreement there. The point is there are smart people. And if you have the population that are listening to dumb people, then they're gonna make some dumb decisions. If this population starts listening to the smart people, and there are some smart people there, but I mean, think about this. You don't.
Good luck, mate. Good luck.
I mean, it's just crazy. It's like you need a bit of a shift, but it's not like it's not just like complete night and day. You need a percentage of the population to wake up. You already have a bunch of people who understand what the problem is and stuff. You just need a little bit more. And no, we're all doomed. It's too late. It's too late for anybody. Don't listen to this man. He's trying to give you hope in the future.
I wanted to lay out two broad ideas of what we can do to bring that to pass. First, let me just give an example. Since we are in Britain and there are many Europeans here, I might just make reference to the fact there seems already to be, not in this room, but in Europe, widely a certain contempt for innovations that are occurring in the US, not least at governmental level. Mm-hmm. There's a whining and a howling about, for instance, Doge's attempts to not just stop government waste, but actually to reform by exposing government waste. One of the great advantages of Doge so far is you don't only see a way in which a country like America might balance the budget, but in stripping away all of those layers of bureaucracy and budget, you also unveil underneath it the kind of rot that our societies have been willing to put up with along the way.
Hey, that Doge stuff, man. If anyone in the world isn't familiar with what that is, that's the Department of Government Efficiency. Trump announced while he was still campaigning that he was going to let Elon and someone else run a Department of Government Efficiency and try to figure out how we're wasting so much money. And I thought, good idea. Did not expect him to do it. I did not expect him to do it. It's like 90% of what politicians say they're going to do, they don't actually do and stuff. So I was not expecting him to do it, but was hoping someone would do something, because for years, whenever there's like politicians and a new election coming up or something like this, I'm always like, I don't have strong feelings much of anyway. And people go, no, you have to. And but I was always thinking, it was always in my head, if every single year you run up $1 to $2 trillion more of debt for your country, and both sides do this, you are doomed no matter what you do. It does not matter what else you do. I don't care if you turn things around a little bit here or there. You are doomed. That eventually catches up with you. You eventually get to the point where 80% of your tax revenue is going to paying off just the interest in all this stuff. You can't keep passing that off to future generations. Eventually get to a generation where they have to give everything just to pay off interest that they had nothing to do with. They didn't do that. They didn't do that. Previous generations did that. So anyway, that's what I was. So anyway, you eventually got to someone who's actually doing something. Is it going to work? I don't know, because guess what? When you have that much waste, you've got a bunch of people's like pet projects and a bunch of people's stuff that they've got going on. And you're going to make a ton of enemies along the way, just taking away all the money that people are putting into their little projects and so on. So is it going to work? I don't know. I'm all for the effort. So we will certainly have our disagreements with some things that the administration does, but I like the idea of exposing all this massive, stupid, idiotic, insane waste. Don't harm me. What?
Nothing. I gather that the administration in DC is looking to do, after USAID, something which was found to be so rotten that it had to be gotten rid of in its entirety, is looking at doing the Department of Education. In America, as in the rest of the West, there is no greater task to do. In New York State, where I spend much of my time, an average spend at a state school is now per pupil around $35,000 a year. For that sum, K through 12 students finish with only just about half of them with basic literacy and half with basic numeracy.
You guys catching that? The cost of a year of just regular school for a child is about $35,000 that is being spent on that child's year of school. And they're barely cracking, what did he say? Like half are literate?
Some K through 12 students finish with only just about half of them with basic literacy and half with basic numeracy. So nobody can tell us that money is the problem. Money is not the problem. You could keep throwing money at this problem and you can still create more and more illiterates. So I just wanted to mention briefly the two things I think that can be looked at. The first is, of course, innovation. Again, for those of us in Europe and in Britain, there's an enormous amount to learn rather than to scorn the American experience. There are reasons why so many of the unicorn startups are from America, why disproportionately they're still from America. There must be something that they're doing right. In this country, we still have a situation where 1 in 5 of the working age population simply do not work, and we, the rest of the taxpayers, subsidize those people not to work. And
Smart.
this seems to me to be a great national scandal, but still something which our governments don't care to address.
He did
Some
point out,
serious-
yeah, he did. It was interesting that he's pointing out that Europeans are flipping out over what's going on in America. I understand the specific things like with like Putin or something like that massively affects that's something that will affect Europe, and so I understand them being concerned about that. But they've got leaders over there who are throwing tantrums about everything, and it's like, what are you throwing tantrum? Like what? Like what? Yeah, I mean, is it what? I mean, because it's things like Doge, right? I mean, we find out that USAID, the money is just going to all these like completely insane causes, and so we're saying, hey, just cancel the entire thing. And you have leaders around the world like losing their minds over this stuff. Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! How can you not spend $50 million for condoms and guns? Oh my goodness! How dare you? Anyway. Weird stuff.
To my mind, one of the great explanations for this disparity in innovation between Europe and America is a very simple question. It's our attitude towards risk. The idea in America remains that life is indeed risky, that success is risky. And in much of the rest of the West, we've fallen into a kind of complacency, which is a sort of welfarism. When I returned to the UK recently, I discovered that the great debate in the UK was about how to kill the elderly more efficiently. And I was struck that the only argument that any Labour minister could make against euthanasia coming online with the NHS was that she didn't think that the NHS was capable of performing euthanasia efficiently. I mentioned in
He's pretty funny, right?
Man. He has a funny way of putting pretty messed up things.
Yeah. And it is funny that he says it all with this like posh British accent. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something funny about it.
Spectator at the time that this was, I think, wrong in one important degree. The NHS is a world leader in killing the elderly.
Whoa, hang on. Mickle here says, watch the Donald Trump address to Congress. It's going down. One member just got sent out. Well, we can't do that. We weren't trying to send everyone away. But we will cover the highlights. We will cover the highlights if something interesting happens.
Online with the NHS was that she didn't think that the NHS was capable of performing euthanasia efficiently. I mentioned in The Spectator at the time that this was, I think, wrong in one important degree. The NHS is a world leader in killing the elderly. It's just that they only kill the people who don't want to die. The NHS, to which endless governments in this country pour money, is always told to us to be the envy of the world, and yet, of course, none of us can find a GP appointment. But I wanted to mention one other main thing, and to do so, I just want to reflect on something that's been much on my mind in the last couple of years. I spent most of the last couple of years in Ukraine and a much lengthier time in the Middle East covering the wars there. And when I returned to the UK in December, I bumped into a politician friend from Westminster and I was extolling the virtues of the IDF, with whom I've been embedded for much of the last year in Gaza and Lebanon and elsewhere. And she said to me, isn't it remarkable that extraordinary events throw up these extraordinary people? I was singing the praises of the amazing young men and women of the IDF as they battle the death cults of Hamas and Hezbollah. And
Hey, that's you see how different that is? Like at art conference and then whatever Keir Starmer's doing?
Yeah.
Very, very different. Two different worlds. Two different worlds. Very close together. They're only a couple miles apart, but very different worlds there.
And this politician said to me, it is amazing, isn't it, Douglas, that this young generation has stepped up to the challenge, has answered that question of whether or not their generation is fit for the civilizational challenge. And she said, it's extraordinary the way in which events throw up people. And I said to her, there's a tweak we need to do to that analysis, which is it's not just extraordinary events that throw up extraordinary people. It's extraordinary events when they come up against people who have been extraordinarily well cultured. And what I mean by that is that it's not enough that a civilization or a generation comes across a defining moment. It is that when that happens, you know what you're fighting for. It is that you know you're fighting for your faith, for your family, for your people, for your tradition, for your way of life, and very much more.
Quote G.K. Chesterton again, ladies and gentlemen. Chesterton said, the true soldier fights not because he hates what is in front of him, but because he loves what is behind him. That is one of the ongoing problems in the UK. What was it, like 10% of young people said they'd be willing to fight for the UK if needed. They don't love the UK anymore. What do you do? What do you do when your population doesn't love their own country? Well, guess what? Then they're not going to fight for it. Well, guess what? Well, when someone else comes in to subjugate them, they're thinking, yeah, we deserve it. This place sucks. That's what they're dealing with here.
Clever people can sometimes say very stupid things. And in a recent interview, Yuval Noah Harari, who wrote *Sapiens*, was asked if there was any book that he would recommend that people could read in the present to understand the future that's coming. And he said no, he couldn't think of such a book because change was going to be so incredibly fast. And I said a couple of days later at an event in Jerusalem, that's flat out wrong. Change has always happened. And if you want a book to guide you, how about having the book that guided your forebears?
Was this gay atheist talking about the Bible? Did you catch that?
Why would you do that?
He just said, hey, guy said, now there's no book that can guide you to the future. Change is happening so rapidly. And Douglas Murray said, no, change has always happened. If you think there's no book to guide you, why don't you go to the book that guided the people before you?
Beast.
Again, well, I'm trying to think, because he doesn't say what book he's talking about. I'm assuming he means Bible, but that's just funny if it's Douglas Murray.
I decided to have a look at at Trump's address, but it's just it's kind of ridiculous. The Democrat women are wearing pink outfits because apparently that's like sending a very strong message of protest against Donald Trump. Like, who gave them this advice? Who gave them this? I don't even care what you think and what your ideas are and so on. Who gave you the advice that putting on pink outfits would be a strong statement against Donald Trump?
Don't they always do like the dumbest thing? Here, guys. Okay.
I'm very serious right now. Look, this is no matter if you. I could sit here and believe that Donald Trump is a complete scumbag and oppressor and does everything wrong and so on, and we must oppose him at all costs. Even if I did think exactly that, why would I ever conclude that putting on pink outfits is a fantastic idea to make a point here? If I was part of the opposition, I would say, are you guys retarded? Please take that off.
It's like when you had all these women's marches and they're going around in vagina costumes and vagina hats and stuff like this, and it's like who who that you disagree with do you think is going to be persuaded by that? Like anyone who agrees with you was already on your side. Who are you trying to impress? Here's what's crazy. Like just speaking from a straight up strategy perspective, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump basically has 2 years. He has basically 2 years to do almost anything he wants. Why? Because you got a stacked deck there. You're going to have the midterm elections. If enough people are ticked off, he's going to like lose. He's going to lose some. The Republicans are going to lose some seats, and they're not going to be able to do anything they want. So you got basically 2 years, right? Guess he's going to be ticking off a lot of people with a lot of stuff. I just pointed out all these even though it's like massively necessary to cut government waste and government spending and so on. He's going to step on a lot of toes when he does that. He's going to enrage a lot of people. He's going to make a lot of enemies who are going to want to tear him down. So all you'd have to do is not be insane. 2 years. You have to wait 2 years and not come across as completely insane. And you would take away his ability to do much of anything for the rest of his second term in office. What do? We're wearing pink. Look at us. Eee! Okay, now you seem like idiots and lunatics. It's weird. It's massively dysfunctional that they think this is what's going to work and rally people around us. We'll show up in pink.
This is what America needs right now.
That's what we need. That's what we need. Powerful, powerful stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Powerful stuff. Anyway, but we've got Douglas Murray, fortunately. But hey, check this out. Let me back this thing up. Sounds like he's talking about the Bible.
Yuval Noah Harari, who wrote *Sapiens*, was asked if there was any book that he would recommend that people could read in the present to understand the future that's coming, and he said no, he couldn't think of such a book because change was going to be so incredibly fast. And I said a couple of days later at an event in Jerusalem, that's flat out wrong. Change has always happened. And if you want a book to guide you, how about having the book that guided your forebears?
You mean the Quran?
That'd be funny. That would be funny if you just paused for a couple of seconds and went, the Quran. Or it'd be even funnier if he said, the Holy Quran.
Now, to do that, you have to come to the second thing I wanted to mention this morning that you need for civilizational renewal, and that's the ability to look back. To look back. We've wasted so much time in recent years. We've wasted so much time. People have made us move at such a retarded speed. We've had years.
Did he just say the speed is retarded? Did you hear what he said? Very rude. I didn't even know you were allowed to say that.
Back. We've wasted so much time
in
recent years.
Listen to this.
We've wasted so much time. People have made us move at such a retarded speed. We've had
But the speed
But the speed is retarded.
Years of talking about the most basic things that our species knew, men and women, what are they? Come on. Who had time for this?
No one.
No
one did back in the day.
And the problem is that there is a cost to this. There has been a civilizational cost to be made to go at the speed of the slowest kids in the class. Now,
jihadis. Just so everyone knows, when we talk about the slowest kids in the class, we mean you, Ali Dawa. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about you and your fans.
One response to the era of mass migration that I've written a great amount has been what I've described as the deculturation of our societies. The idea that in order to welcome people into our societies, we effectively have to pretend that we are uninteresting places, unimportant places until migration makes us interesting. And I just wanted to mention an analogy here, which my friend Eric Weinstein, who's come in today from LA, gave me this idea a while ago. He said, as a boy, he had the impression that ice cream was something whose base flavor was vanilla, and all other flavors were added on top of vanilla.
That's fact, actually.
I also thought that as well. There's
Everybody thought.
when you make ice cream, it's vanilla, and then if you want to make it chocolate, you add some chocolate syrup or something like that. And if you want anything else, you have to add it into the vanilla.
I'm actually shocked right now that he's suggesting that this is not what it is.
Yeah, this whole video should be titled Douglas Murray's shocking announcement about ice cream.
And he said it was only at some point in his youth that he discovered that vanilla itself is a flavor, and a very complex flavor. Now, we in the West...
It's kind of a funny, messed up analogy. He's saying that we're in the West, we're kind of vanilla, right? And we think we need to add something else to make ourselves not just plain vanilla. It's funny, but no, he's like, no, vanilla's good. It's good to just be vanilla. That's kind of funny. I don't know.
It's actually good.
I know.
So
It's kind of.
I
it's
can
pretty-
get behind.
It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny though. We're okay being vanilla.
on top of vanilla. And he said it was only at some point in his youth that he discovered that vanilla itself is a flavor,
We're proud to be vanilla.
and a very complex flavor.
I'm changing my name
Now,
to
we
Vanilla
in the
Ice.
West have created an extraordinarily complex and rich flavor. And we have spent
Vanilla.
recent years pretending that we have no flavor.
Our flavor is vanilla.
Flavor is something that only other people bring to us. And this
He's gonna start selling proud to be vanilla t-shirts.
This is, of course, flat out wrong, but it's been something that we have told more than one generation of young people in the West. We've told them that we don't really have anything very great, or if we do, we oughtn't to talk about it too much. And I believe that that is flat out wrong, because what we have in cities like that, just a little way up the road, and in the cities of Europe and the West, are the greatest civilization that the world has known. And we have the choice. We have the choice either to live in the wastelands or to rebuild them. Now, there are cities in Europe.
AP says, no, this can only be a wasteland.
No, I must say that for such a horrible country, such a terrible place, which seems beyond repair and completely lost, and at this point should probably abolish itself. This guy is making some really good points, and giving an inspiring speech.
Douglas Murray, ladies and gentlemen.
The greatest civilization that the world has known. And we have the choice. We have the choice either to live in the wastelands or to rebuild them. Now, there are cities in Europe, I think of cities like Budapest, I think of many German cities, where the idea is that you actually can restore beauty to the built environment, that people do not need to wander like lost souls around the wastelands of East London looking for meaning against buildings that tell them you are nothing, you do not matter. We have the opportunity to restore, not just in the built environment, but in the educational environment, to make sure that when we talk about our culture, we don't just talk about it, but we also do it. For people to realize that our culture is not just something they revere, but something that young people can add to understand the conversation, the poetry of mankind, to understand that just because Mozart is great does not mean you cannot build on Mozart, that just because the great buildings are great does not mean you cannot add to them. I would urge in the age of reconstruction that our great task is not just to break through with innovation, but to reclaim what is ours, to say that we love it.
To say that we love vanilla. We love vanilla ice. Ice, ice, baby. We like vanilla coffee, vanilla ice cream. We like marshmallows, snow, clouds. We like cotton swabs. I'm trying to think of other white thing.
Do with innovation, but to reclaim what is ours, to say that we love it, and that if people wish to join us in the veneration of this civilization, they are very, very willing to do so. If they don't wish to join us, there are other places they can be.
So
Where might that be?
it was good.
Everybody knows that those of us who revere T.S. Eliot revere him in part because he told us, and indeed tells us still, that a civilization can be reclaimed even at the 11th hour. But even in this hall, I would say that there is another possibility as well, which other philosophers, Strauss and others, also give us, which is the possibility that civilization can also be reclaimed even at the 13th hour, even in the most inauspicious circumstances, and most importantly today, from the most inauspicious of locations. Thank you.
Well,
Wow,
there you
man. I must say, I don't know. It's so wild to me because so often I hear this weird thing which kind of people in the West have even internalized at this point, which he also points out. For example, this phrase, "Oh, white people don't have culture." Like this is something that you hear in America, for example, or things like that. Oh, what do you mean white culture? There are some things that we should be saying and that should be common sense nowadays to say, which are that a lot of the things that we do today, the way we live today, the way we use the internet, the way we communicate with each other, the way we talk to each other, the way we act, the basic morals, the basic not morals, but the basic, well, how would you describe it? The way we treat each other, the way we greet each other, and so on. So much is just is based on Western culture and on what Western people have built. It is Western culture to actually go online and use the internet and use the apps that we use, basically. Yes, you might say, "Oh, I like this Mexican food or food from here and there, and that is culture." Yeah, well, if you go on an app and type that you like Mexican food, then you are basically using Western culture. It's what Western culture developed. It is what the West developed. It is what the Western man has developed.
You're sounding a little too German in this entire
And
rant.
you are using what the Western man has developed proudly and efficiently and happily and sufficiently. And you should be happy with that. You should not be ashamed to express that. If you are ashamed of it, you should go somewhere else. I have to. No, I must say that it shouldn't be a wrong thing to just say it's okay to appreciate and to be proud of everything that the West has built. I'm sorry, but the rest of the world just looks like a bunch of garbage. Much of the rest of the world looks like a bunch of garbage compared to the West. Much of the world looks like a bunch of garbage compared to Europe or compared to North America. Other civilizations that build so-called civilizations.
How did this become the most racist show I've ever been on in my life?
After the United States of America, for example, which is just European people coming and finding an underdeveloped land and then developing it into the greatest thing ever. Meanwhile, you have other civilizations in other parts of the world that lived in the same land that they were in forever, and it still looks like underdeveloped garbage. I'm sorry, but it just
This
needs to
is
be
why
pointed
we
out
must
that-
conquer them all.
No, but it's like it is simply true that some cultures are better than others.
We need the
Some
land.
cultures are significantly better than others. Some cultures build actual stuff, other cultures don't. And there should be nothing wrong with admitting the fact that what we have in the West, Western nations, European nations, and so on, it is awesome. It is beautiful. Why would you be ashamed or afraid of admitting that? I'm I would say, like, looking at my heritage and all of that, I don't come from a Western culture.
No, you
I
come
come
from a
from a
wolf.
I come from a culture that
Some guy humped a wolf, right?
travels to a Western culture and then and then is personally on my own my in my own experience. I come from a different culture. I'm raised here in this culture, but I see nothing but
Feral,
greatness where I
feral wolf
grow
otterman.
up. Why would I be ashamed of saying that this place that I grow up is amazing and I love it and I would love to preserve it and I would love to restore it again instead of turning it into that bunch of crap that my parents came from, for example? What's wrong with this? What's wrong with this?
What's wrong with this is you're half wolf, half otter. you're and then this otter man gets raised in Germany by the wrong people and then let loose on America and then starts, yes, I love vanilla, yeah.
You have to be proud.
Why can't I talk about how much I love the vanilla?
But isn't it funny? If I came from a garbage culture and I was proud of my garbage culture, and I sat here and gave a whole 30-day lecture on how my garbage culture is like the best thing in the world, and I'm so proud of it and so happy with it, this would be celebrated by YouTube, and I would probably get a YouTube button as a reward for that. But if I sit here and do the same thing about Western culture, then we are afraid that that might sound racist.
Yep.